Welcome back to the Facebook studios live at the Raisina Dialogue 2020. We have with us the Foreign Minister of the Maldives, Mr. Abdulla Shahid, in conversation. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us some of your time ahead of your main session.
My pleasure.
When we talk about the Maldives today, one of the biggest things that you've been talking about this in Delhi as well in your meetings, but one of the biggest things that comes to our attention is what's going to happen if sea levels suddenly rise and submerge some of your islands. The issue of climate change and the issue of sea levels rising is something that's really a strategic and security issue for the Maldives as well today.
Climate change, madam, for the Maldives is an existential issue. And not only for the Maldives, for many of the small island countries, also for the low-lying parts of the world. It's a security threat, it's a human rights issue, it's an existential issue. As you rightly said, we are in the middle of the Indian Ocean, right at the heart of it. The highest point one can get in the Maldives is 2.5 meters above sea level. We are rather flat, we are spread out over 1 million square kilometers of the sea, the vast Indian Ocean. If there is going to be, and God forbid, a sea level rise as predicted, large parts of Maldives would be underwater, uninhabitable. Large parts of other countries would be underwater. It's not only an issue that the Maldives is facing, it's a collective issue. What we have to remind ourselves is that today it may be the Maldives and the other low-lying island states, but the changes in the environment, climate change, is going to affect all of us collectively. The whole Mother Earth is signaling, giving us great warnings.
So just as a follow-up to that, you know, a couple of issues that come to mind. One is that this is an imminent existential threat for countries like the Maldives. What happens? Is there a contingency plan in place? Are there repatriation plans that you have for populations on some of these islands that are more at risk than others in the country itself?
We can work on two fronts. Adaptation, meaning building climate resilient islands, an initiative launched by President Saleh at the United Nations General Assembly last year, and building infrastructure that will be that will stand such a disastrous scenario. But our main contingency plan, madam, is in the humanity of mankind. We still believe in the Maldives, we all believe that humankind still has that goodness in the heart to look at what is happening, to come to an understanding, reduce the carbon emissions into the world, and come to accept that this is not something that is happening to just a few bunch of people in the middle of the Indian Ocean and in the Pacific and other parts of the oceans, but it's happening to all of us, everyone. We are collectively going to face the consequences. Therefore, we believe that there is still the goodness of humanity.
Well, I mean, I hope that the goodness of humanity as a contingency plan works, but I think broadly to push the goodness of humanity in the right direction that you seek, what is the kind of reception your concerns have got from the global community? Specifically, what are areas of cooperation you might be seeking with countries like India, which are dominant players in the Indian Ocean region as well, on these issues of the environment?
We convened a small states conference, small island states conference on sea level rise way back in the 1989.
That's right, yes.
30 odd years back. We have been talking about it. Every opportunity we get, we talk about it. To be fair, we have made some progress, but not progress enough to satisfy us or the rest of the world human community. We should not be complacent about the fact that we have made some progress, because the progress we have made is not enough at all. The last COP25 was a disaster. We failed to reach most of the critical agreements we were supposed to. COP26, we are going to raise these issues and still continue to ask for more consensus building. And that is where we have reached. India has been a great friend, an ally, and India's assistance in coping with climate related issues in the Maldives is of great assistance. The Coalition for Disaster Infrastructure on Disaster Resilient Matters, which was launched by Prime Minister Modi. Maldives is a founding member of this coalition, and we are very hopeful that the coalition would establish infrastructure that is that will stand some of the consequences that the scientists are forecasting.
So, essentially, while there is been a response from the world community, it's not been nearly enough or at the pace that the Maldives would like. So that we can talk about this for the next 10-15 minutes and possibly 10-15 days as well. But let me just move on to another quick issue since we're running short on time, which is also of critical interest in the security conversations around the region, which is the issue of radicalization that the Maldives has witnessed. You know, data suggests that there were several people from the Maldives who were radicalized and went abroad and joined the Islamic State. What is your struggle with radicalization? How are you combating it? What are the effective tools that are in place? And what is the law enforcement mechanisms to deal with some of those who might be coming back now?
Radicalization is an issue that all our countries have had to face. Terrorism, radicalization, extremism, these groups, they have no religion.
Right.
They are pure evil. That is the only thing they have. And the only way that we can combat this scourge is by international cooperation. We have outstanding cooperation with India, Sri Lanka, the United States, and many of our friends, the United Arab Emirates. We are working closely with them. Intelligence sharing, dealing with these concepts and groups collectively is one of the ways in which we will be able to cope with it. Plus, specifically to the Maldives, we are dealing with it with regard to appropriate legislature. Right. We have adopted recently legislation regarding people traveling to countries to fight in their internal conflicts. It's a crime now in the Maldives. We have designated countries that they can't travel. The first country we have designated is Syria. If anyone travels to Syria without permission and takes part in any of these activities, he will be liable under criminal law in the Maldives.
Okay.
We are also dealing with it through our recently established National Counter-Terrorism Center, which is working with their international partners, with the Indian intelligence agencies, with the UAE intelligence agencies specifically, and the United States. The radicalization effort starts at very young age. The social media is being used. All the freedoms that we have in a democratic society are being misused in order to radicalize our young people.
That's actually a very important point that you've raised, because you know democracies come with certain rights and privileges and freedoms, and at the same time when it's about radicalization, your argument and that of many governments is that the same rights are being abused. But nonetheless, you know, one can't curb those freedoms or rights as a means of protection or counter radicalization. So, what is the solution really then?
That is the dilemma that we democratic societies have. How far do we let free speech go, freedom of information go, and freedom of expression? Because all these rights are being misused by the terrorists, by the extremists. Our effort should start at schools, at educational institutions, at increasing awareness of our public. The counter radicalization is a process whereby we will have to deal with our societies, engage with our people at the very basic level. And if we can keep that programs going, I think we would win the war against radicalism and extremism. 50% of it would be won.
Excellency, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I think it's very important that small countries like the Maldives raise their voice on such powerful issues, because sometimes those issues that are so critical to your safety, security, strategic existence, I think when you make those appeals, maybe the world community will actually sit up and take notice. So, you know, no country is too small or too big for such important issues. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.